Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your boy. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the most recent episode of The Boys. I'm incredibly excited about it. I think that the show is doing a really good job. I was not planning on making weekly episodes for this because I was going to do like a halfway through it, review it, and then review it at the end of the show. But I love what they did with this episode, and I want a chance to talk about Tech Night and some of the specific things that are specific to this episode. So that being said, we're doing another little review. I'm incredibly excited about it. We're going to dive right into this. First thing I want to talk about, a lot of people online are calling this a filler episode. Do I agree with that statement? Yes. Do I think that that's a derogatory term for something that's actually really good? Yes, because in my opinion, filler episodes are great. I made an entire video talking about why filler episodes are awesome and why we need them in more TV shows. And the fact that we're getting a little bit of a like filler episode here is fantastic. For one, it does a lot of really interesting things. For one, Victoria Newman has a really interesting like monologue in this episode where she kind of like shows that she can stand up for herself and that she is tired of being played as like a fucking pawn in Homelander's game. The fact that she like stands up for herself, she talks about all these different things that she needs to do, and she like really takes a moment to just show how much of a badass and a genius she is. That was fantastic. That felt very necessary. I'm glad we had that moment. And overall, there's just a lot of great character moments throughout this entire episode that I really enjoy. And we wouldn't get that if they don't take a break for a second to be like, okay. Also, episode 6, in my opinion, is one of the perfect episodes to have kind of a filler episode for, because the next 2 episodes are going to be intense. A lot of characters are probably going to start biting the dust in the next 2 episodes, and there's going to be a lot of like tension rising, big cliffhanger at the end of the next episode, and then the final episode is just going to be action and action and action and a bunch of intensity the entire time. So this episode was perfectly placed right here. I think that this is a really great time to step back, take a breather, focus on some of the other characters. I will admit, it does take away from a couple of things that I'm very intrigued about, and I do think it's really weird. One thing that I do not like about this episode, is going to be probably the only negative that I really have about it, is they've been building up Frenchie this entire season. They've been working a lot with like A-Train and all of his like character development, stuff like that. Both of those characters seem like very much sidelined in this episode. Frenchie obviously doesn't even show up in the episode, and then A-Train has like a couple of small little character moments that I'm like, they work, they're interesting, they're good, I'm glad that we had them. But at the same time, if he passes away in the next episode, I'm gonna be upset that they didn't do a little bit more with him in this episode. However, I understand that's not really what they were going for this episode. I just think it's really interesting that like those 2 characters seemingly are like the main characters of this season as of right now, because they're putting so much time and effort into everything going on with Frenchie's subplot, and then they're doing so much to like build up the fact that A-Train is finally turning around and being an actual real life hero. And it's interesting, it's great, I really like it, but like also he's on the chopping block. Please give us more time with A-Train, I swear. Please give us more time with A-Train. But that being said, very minor complaint. I will admit, when it comes to the Frenchie side of this, I am very upset, because like, how are you going to build him up for like 5 episodes? And like, so far everything that they've done in this season has been kind of just like rehashing the fact that like he has a terrible past and he's tired of his terrible past and he really just wants to like make amends for his past. And right now, the person who needs him most is he's currently not talking to. And that, like, as much as I like love Frenchie and I like the fact that they're trying to do something different with his character, seems out of character for him. He knows that like at the end of the day, the people who are close to him still really need him, and the fact that he's just like abandoning all of them for no reason, I don't know. I hope that if he does end up getting out of jail or whatever and he finally ends up having some interaction with Kimiko, she punches him or bitch slaps him, because he fucking deserves it. But yeah, anyways, that's my entire rant about Frenchie. Now we're gonna dive into the entire other side of this story. Okay, I would like to apologize in advance. The rest of this audio might not be very great. It is the 4th of July. There are fireworks going off, and my dogs are barking like crazy. I realized a little bit ago, I like took a pause because I realized they were barking, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go check on them, see what the hell's going on, figure out why they're barking, and I could not for the life of me figure it out. And then a firework went off, and they started barking, and I was like, this is going to be a problem. But that being said, we're going to trudge through it. So now to kind of switch to the Tech Night little party gala thing that's going on. I could talk so much about a lot of the different things that happen in this. I could talk about how messed up the Boys universe is, because it is crazy. But I do want to start off just talking about the Tech Night character himself. When he was introduced in The Boys Gen V, I was so excited. He is such an interesting character. They do such a good job kind of playing on the whole like Batman type character, but mostly focusing on the fact that in the comics, Batman is kind of referred to as like the world's greatest detective. So he's the world's greatest detective, and he can just like see what's going on in people's like eyes. He can feel their heartbeats or whatever. He can sense stuff that's going on, and he's just like a really smart character. And I really like the fact that they use him and kind of make him just an idiot, somebody who's too obsessed with sex to really focus on anything else. And I really like the fact that this is kind of like making a darker version of Batman, where it's like he grew up, he was a teenage boy, he had everything at his fingertips that he could possibly potentially have. He didn't have any parents, he had a lot of trauma, he probably never got therapy. Yeah, he might turn into like a very like inappropriate sexual person who's really into BDSM. I think that that's an interesting kind of parallel to make, and I think that that's just such an interesting place to take a Batman-esque character. Like, he's somebody who's insanely rich. Yeah, he would have a cool sex dungeon, okay? But that being said, that aside, I just like the fact that they make him like such like a loser in comparison to some of the other characters, and I like the fact that even Homelander is just like, this bitch can't even fly, and he basically just like makes fun of Tech Knight. I think that that's great. I like the fact that he's the butt of the joke, because in a lot of like superhero media and stuff like that, they're always afraid to make Batman the butt of the joke, but like at the same of the time, stuff like the Lego Batman do a great job of doing it and still being comically accurate, and it's fantastic. I love it whenever they can poke fun at these rich characters. I will say, Webweaver, incredibly disappointing. I was really hoping that it was going to be something similar to, and I know that I'm wrong for expecting this, okay, because it's the boys universe, and they're going to just make the main character that you're like interested in seeing fucked up and just like a giant like sexual character. But I was really hoping to at least see one like web slinging scene, because in my opinion, all of the live action Spider-Man movies that we've gotten in the last like 6 or 7 years, all of the Tom Holland ones, we haven't gotten any good web shooting sequences, and I really would have loved to just see like the Amazon completely like show off and like outdo them. I did not realize what Webweaver was going to be, so I was disappointed. Is it my own fault for having the wrong expectations? Absolutely, and I own up to that. But that being said, the suit looked interesting. The fact that they threw Hughie in it and they were like, okay, you're gonna go to this party, not the best idea. But that being said, on like the page of like this being like a filler episode or whatever, I like the fact that like they keep just giving Hughie the most traumatic experiences ever, and I think that that's something that's important about like filler episodes and stuff like this, where like we're just like fleshing out some of the characters, is the characters need to experience specific trauma and stuff together so that they can have like a better connection and they can have better bonds, and it kind of like builds inside jokes and stuff like that. So like Mother's Milk getting the webbing on him at the beginning of the episode, and Hughie kind of being there for him and being like, I'm so sorry, boss man, and then like Hughie having to go into a sex dungeon. It's just hilarious stuff. It's a really great team building stuff that they're doing with this show. That's the worst way to say it. That is like the worst way to put it. I don't care. But something that I think is really interesting about The Boys, because I mentioned this earlier, The Boys universe is so strange, and there's so much that's going on that like Hughie being in this room with all the like superheroes and everything like that, absolutely terrifying. I'm so scared. I have no idea what's going to happen. And then Tech Knight takes him away and takes him to a sex dungeon, and all of a sudden he enters the sex dungeon. I'm like, okay, he's fine. And that's not a great thing, because that would be like a really concerning thing. That would be like a really bad thing for literally anybody else. But I saw that and I was just like, okay, he's safe. Doesn't matter that he's about to get, arguably like traumatizing stuff done to him. I was like, okay, well, at least he's safe now. The Boys universe, what are you doing to me? Because I'm watching these shows and I'm getting like too used to it. I'm getting too comfortable with it, and I don't appreciate that. But that being said, a lot of things that I do really like about this episode. Kimiko, I love her. She's the best. She's fantastic. The fact that she's not giving up on Frenchie is great. The fact that she just keeps going and trying to see him is fantastic. And the fact that like he kind of is like a second home to her, because he's the only person that she can communicate with. And I like the way that they kind of like do a couple of different sequences in this episode where like she can't communicate with the people in the room that she's in. So like that kind of helps even build in the fact that like she needs Frenchie more than ever right now, which I really liked. I thought that was great. Their bond is fantastic, and I really want them to showcase more of that. So if Frenchie can get out of jail or something, that would be fantastic. That would be awesome. But yeah, overall, all that stuff interesting. The stuff with Firecracker at the end of this episode, I love it. I love it so much. I think it's so funny, and I think that the fact that like she's just doing this because she really just wants to be admired is fantastic. And it's kind of like, I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but like she has a lot of suppressed like trauma from back when she was younger and she was doing all these pageants and stuff like that. And she really just wanted to be the best, and she really wanted like all the love and the fame and the popularity and stuff like that. And now she's like, she will do anything for validation, and she does that. She's just such an over-the-top character, and I love everything that they're doing with the Firecracker character. I was expecting to 100% hate her, and I was literally getting ready for that to be, like, my least favorite character ever. And she's just so good. She's great. The stuff with Sister Sage getting shot and then having her little brain damage and just going cuckoo crazy, that's fantastic. Yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I think that it was a pretty solid one. There's not a whole lot that I want to talk about, because at the end of the day, this is a filler episode, but I enjoyed it. I thought this was fantastic. It had a lot of great character moments that I really, really liked, and I'm really excited to see what happens in the last 2 episodes. I'm hoping A-Train makes it to at least the finale, because if he makes it to the finale, they could do, like, something similar to what they did with Queen Maeve and, like, fake out his death scene, and then in reality, he just, like, runs away, and he gets away safely. That's what I'm hoping for. Like, I honestly want it to be, like, he doesn't die, but he's on the run for the rest of his life. And he's constantly having to run from, like, this place to that place to this place to that place. Because it'd be really cool. But yeah, that being said, that was it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming by and checking it out. I love and appreciate you guys so much for watching, and if you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe. And if you want to see my video that I was talking about earlier, where I talked about filler episodes, I will put it up on the screen somewhere. And yeah, that's going to be it for me for this one. Peace out. Bow. 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 Back at it again, but that's a relevant flow. So smooth, they calling me Mr. Elegant. Like an elephant, I got a long nose. Like a president, I've got a few hoes. Swift with a stutter, I'm smooth like butter. Don't see it coming when I slip undercover. Like a big dog, but I don't bite. I'm still a big broad, I'd win that fight. Come match you and I knock out your lights.